Hi everybody, like you mentioned, my name's Alwyn Hunt. I have a background in visual effects where I spent 20 years working as a character texture artist. And, you know, from those early sort of beginnings, you know, we got approached by university about how we could help mentor students when I was working in the industry. So this was like 20 years ago, right? So there was issues back then about students not being at a certain level that industry required them to be at. The reason why showing this is all student work here, and this is the sort of the level that industry are looking for. And it's really hard on a global stage that there's this big problem of students not being industry ready. So I'm here today to talk about what's happening, the current state of the market, the industry, the visual effects industry. I'm here to sort of identify problems that we've noticed on a global stage. I'm also here to talk about what we're doing about it and what the trends, some of the trends that are starting to happen within education. So just to do a quick, where's my button there? So again, bridging the gap. So this is some of my work here. So just to give you a background of the type of work that I've worked on. So I worked at Weta Digital. I was one of the texture artists on Schmall. There was a team of 4 of us working on this. I was lucky enough to get his back half and work on some of the other sort of the facial stuff. So during this time, you know, you get to work on lots of really cool characters. Once you've sort of worked your way up and you've got a bit of a name and you've got a demo reel and all the rest of it, you start getting some of the cool characters. But you don't, when you're starting out in the industry, you don't jump straight into this. And I was just having a chat out there with one of the gentlemen that runs a Houdini course, and he's just saying the expectations of a lot of students nowadays is, you go out, you do these courses, and you're going to be straight into these big films, which is not the case. You're going to have to start at the bottom and work your way up. Basically, what you're doing is you're earning the trust of people to know that they can trust you to work on these hero assets. And you're hearing the gentleman at the start saying about the pressure that comes with working on these types of assets. You have to be, like you said, you have to manage your skills, your emotions, and be willing to be open and get feedback from everybody, right? Even as a senior texture artist for me, I would have artistic blocks where I'd be working on a character and I knew I wasn't nailing it, but I'd always just go and ask people. It could be anybody, it could be somebody junior or somebody that's senior or somebody that's completely not even focused on that, because there's little pockets of information that they give you that'll just help you, might just trigger something in your brain. And so yeah, you should always be looking to get feedback. It's crucial. The other thing is the sort of the soft skills that comes with these types of jobs, right? So you have to be able to communicate. There's a problem in the industry with students at the moment that work so hard on their demo reel. They have the most amazing skills, but they can't communicate with people. They get really shy, or they can't articulate themselves to people, and that's super crucial working in an industry like this, because if you can't communicate with the next department or your peers, then it's a problem. So there's not only the technical and the artistic skills that you have to work on, but there's also a whole plethora of other skills that you need to be conscious of. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. Oops, next one. So just to talk a little bit about the rookies. So the rookie, how many people actually know about the rookies? Okay, that's good, a few people. No? So we've been around for almost 10 years. Next year we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary. And it's a big milestone for us. We've been helping students create opportunities through internships and scholarships and getting industry involved in this rookies for the last 10 years. And the other co-founder of the rookies is Andrew McDonald. He's currently based in Singapore. We're both industry, so we understand it. We have a lot of support by industry, and he's currently, he's working at ILM in Singapore. So we're the 2 main guys behind it. And essentially what it is, it's a platform for students. So some people say, like, isn't it like ArtStation? It's a community, you post your work. It is kind of like ArtStation, but it's only for students. Professionals are not allowed on there. So it's for people that are wanting to get into the industry. It's people that have graduated. It's for rookies. That's where the name comes from. So essentially, if professionals want to come on, they get kicked off. We're saying, hey, you know what? Give feedback. Get involved with the community. You can be a judge. You can be on our Discord channel, giving back to the community. So the platform is, like I said, you come on as a user type, and you can see the different colors over here. So you might be somebody that's a complete debut. Just, you watched a great movie or played a great game and thought, you know what? I want to get into the industry. So you can come onto the platform, and once you've come on as that user type, then you get curated content. So it's all about 101 of how to get into these industries, the different sort of job titles that are involved with that type of industry. Can everyone understand me? Because I feel like I've got this crazy accent that no one can understand me, because I'm conscious of you now. So we're really tailoring the content depending on what level you're at. So you might be already graduated, you're really trying to get a job. The beauty of this platform is there's a lot of eyes looking at it. So we get approached, nearly every other week from a company going, hey, we're looking for junior talent. Have you got anybody that's coming through that you've spotlighted? And so we're always recommending people that's happening behind the scenes. So there's a lot of great studios looking at it and creating these opportunities. So the other component of it is the Rookie Awards, which is an annual awards, which we hold from March through to July. And essentially anybody can enter in at this time, and it's purely a portfolio. So we get, all the top studios offering internships to the winners, and then there's a lot of, prizes and all that sort of stuff that sort of happen during it. But the best part of it is that what we're trying to do is actually encourage students to get their work out there online for the first time. So giving them the confidence to go, you know what, and these are the skills that are needed outside of the actual portfolio. So bringing in that confidence, getting that exposure, and it doesn't matter whether you're first year, third year, it's essentially just trying to help you build your online brand. So brand is a big thing as well. When you're first getting into these types of industries, there's a lot of good people that are promoting themselves. They write articles, they do blog posts, they get their work out there, and they promote themselves. Recruiters see their work. This is if you want to try and stand out from the pack, then these are the types of things that you need to do. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when I go through the next few slides. So I want to talk about the current state of the industry, give you a bit of an overview of it. So right now we're in a boom period, the Netflix boom, TV, streaming online. This is what I call a sort of a golden age. And when I got into the industry, 20 years ago, it was tough. There was only sort of visual effects. There was a few games. It was really tough to try and get in. Now there's so many jobs. There's new jobs being created every other week because of new technology and all the rest of it. So it's a golden age to be getting into the industry, which is exciting if you're a student. Actually, how many people here are students? Great. You're still learning, Eric. So like I said, there's new hybrid jobs coming along as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the next slide. We're witnessing the highest number of graduates. That's great. Lots of jobs, lots of graduates. The problem is that these graduates are not getting jobs because they're not at the right level. So there's a problem. Big studios are outsourcing to places like India. So we've got studios in India that are taking the entry-level positions like Rotoscope, Matchmove, all these entry-level. There's studios of 2,000 people doing these jobs. So it's making it harder to get in at these entry-level positions. So again, it's about how do I stand out? Hotspots around the world. There's visual effects incentives in different regions of the world. So, we know Montreal and Vancouver and London are sort of hotspots, and more recently, Australia, actually. So if you're getting into this industry, you've got to be willing to travel. You've got to be willing to get out there and actually go to these hotspots, because this is where a lot of the jobs are being offered. And advancements in technology, and that's what I was talking about. So that's a knock-on with the sort of hybrid jobs. So we're seeing real-time technology. These are creating a new type of job. So you might be in architecture visualization, and now you have to know real time because it's moving, these trends are moving, so there's new positions becoming available. So just looking at the sort of money that's being spent next year, $17 billion by Netflix alone. That's a lot of content. So that has a knock-on effect. So that means that they're going to need lots of people, lots of skilled people to be able to create these new visual effects in these different mediums. And the quality, I mean, we're all watching it. The quality is amazing. It is film quality that we're seeing. So there's lots of money being spent, lots of new jobs. So the demand is extremely high. I think games next year it's $160 billion in games as well. So we're just looking at some of the big players, but there's a lot more happening as well. So this was a recent survey done in the UK, and it's highlighting the highest priorities jobs for the future. The top one being TV series. And this is in our industry. There's a massive shortage of people that are going to be getting into this industry. So current issues. So these current issues that we're sort of talking about revolve around, sort of training. This, like I mentioned before, the skill level of students is not where it needs to be. There's a handful of schools around the world, and we're able to identify them through the Rookie Awards, because what we do is we release our global school rankings, and that's based off the quality of the students. So we get a lot of schools promoting themselves as being the best schools in the world for visual effects, for games, or whatever it may be, but there's not a lot of substance to it. Maybe a group of really exceptional students did an amazing short film. They did well in the film festival, and then all of a sudden they're promoting themselves as the best school in the world for visual effects. So through the rookie rankings, we're able to say, actually, you know what? We see this pocket of this group of students that are doing amazing work, and we're able to go, actually, let's dig deeper. Let's see what the curriculum is. Let's see where the teachers have come from. Let's see how close they work with industry. The skill level of lecturers is not where it needs to be in a lot of schools. There's this horrible cycle that happens where students can't find work because of the skill level is too short. So then they go back into the education system and start training. They've never had any industry experience. And there's also lecturers that get into universities and they get comfortable. And they're there for 20 years and they're just, it's just the daily grind, but they're not upskilling. They're not staying relevant with the technology, and they're failing the system. Again, I just mentioned soft skills. So there's certain areas within the education that is lacking. So soft skills being one of them. We had a great discussion yesterday on the panel, and it was around this, and there was a lot of great feedback. And like I was saying, there was ILM. I was talking to them last week. And they were saying that it's a massive problem for them, that students just can't communicate, and they're actually having to create a program within the studio to try and get people to communicate and just be able to talk, be able to interview properly, be able to dress properly when they're going for the interview. You get the interview, it's only the first step. There's then the presentation without being arrogant at the same time. Curriculums aren't responsive enough. This industry is changing at such a rapid rate that when you go to school, I've been to schools and I've been talking to the teachers and the lecturers, and they're complete cycles, full cycles behind where they need to be. People are still teaching, texturing wise, you'd be looking at, photos, which is great to learn, but when you've got to move on and be understanding what industry require now for different disciplines. So, and they're not being responsive enough. Business entrepreneurship, business skills. Like, we need people coming out of training and actually starting their own studios. It's not good enough that we all try and get into the DNEGs and the MPCs and the ILMs and all the rest of it. You're just going to become a cog in the wheel. We need more people creating studios to create more opportunities, to be a lot more nimble, particularly with the TV short form series. The bar is set too high. People that I know that have 20 years of experience that want to go back into education and give back because they don't have a master's degree, they're not accepted by the university. Doesn't make sense. So there's things, big things that need to change. And also, you know, salaries, education, you get lots of holidays, but the salaries aren't great considering what you could possibly be earning when you're in the industry. This was a survey that we did. We actually just completed it. So it's only a couple of months old. So we sent this out to every person that entered into the Rookie Awards. We had just under 4,000 people this year from all around the world. And it was interesting because, you know, people saying, yeah, I love school, it was all good. And then we get down to this and you look at the two main ones here. How could the student experience at your school, university be improved? And the two main ones, more industry involvement and more networking. So I'm going to talk more about the industry involvement, and this is what we had a great discussion about yesterday. But it's like they're crying out because it's this disconnect between industry and schools that that I keep banging on about and going back to. And the other one here, you know, like you spent how many dollars or whatever it is to go to school, and people are saying, oh, I want more industry techniques. It's unacceptable, right? Again, the disconnect between industry and schools. So what's being done? Eric, can you tell us? Changes are happening. And so looking from a global perspective, we're seeing more schools that are associating themselves with studios. So trying to get that connection, trying to get closer to it. So, you know, they might act as a feeder, and then, you know, you've got schools like Escape Studio that partnered with Pearson's in London. You've got UTS Animal Logic that's partnered with UTS. You've got Flinders University that partnered with CDW Studio. So you're seeing a shift towards universities recognizing that they can't keep up, that they're not nimble enough. So they're going, okay, how do we figure this out? So they're working with studios a lot more closer, which is good. Schools are creating studio-like environments. So the one that I mentioned there was UTS Animal Logic. How many people have heard of Animal Logic in Australia? Happy Feet? Anyone watched Happy Feet? So UTS Animal Logic. So it's when you go in, it's not even there is no program. You're working on a project. The teachers are not called teachers; they're called leads and HOD. Everything about the school is a studio environment. They have industry people come down every week to critique their work. They have lectures every week of people talking about the different disciplines and how they need to react and act when they're working in these types of roles. They're learning about new technology, VR, AR, deep learning. They're not just focusing on these core disciplines, because those core disciplines, and it's what we talked about yesterday, is they're going to be automated at some stage. Texturing, modeling, rigging, all these base disciplines are going to be automated to a certain stage. So you need to be thinking ahead of the future and going, well, how do I stand out and get to myself in a position that I'm overseeing this stuff? A lot of schools are pulling back and going, well, it's not about the numbers of students that come through. They're actually setting the bar a lot higher for entry level. So making sure you've got a good portfolio of art and base fundamentals that you need to have. Education, and it's like the relevance of it. Now we're seeing, a lot more people that are teaching themselves online. Why do I need to go to a school and do 3 years when I could do it all online? There's, a lot of industry professionals that are creating mentorships and online schools that not only are you getting the benefit of working with this industry professional, you're getting access to his network as well. So there's potential that they'll hook you up with a job or be able to put you in the right contact with the right persons. So there's other options. And, me being in the industry, I've never asked anybody, can I see your degree? I just want to see your work. I don't care how you made it, how you got to that point. I just want to see your demo reel. I don't want to see your piece of paper. The one benefit with having that is being able to travel overseas. Some countries you have to have a degree or you have to have at least 5 years experience in the industry. So there are benefits of it, but these are the questions that you need to ask yourself. Studio internships, traineeships, apprenticeships program. So we're seeing a lot more studios offering internships, a lot more studios that are actually taking matters into their own hand and creating their own academies. MPC have their own academy. DNEG have a green light program. You're seeing a lot more industry companies trying to lift the standard as well. And government needs to get behind this, because when you've got industry, we're all working flat out to create these movies, and there's a lot of pressure. There's not a lot of time to go, oh, well, let's go down to the university and spend half a day or 2 days down there, like trying to train. All we're thinking about is like these deadlines that we have to meet. So there needs to be support from higher above to be able to supplement that. So what are we doing about it at the Rookies? So early next year, we're going to be releasing certified skills. So what we've done with that is essentially talked to all the studios and said, hey, you know what, we need to all come together. I talked to a lot of the HR recruitment, and everyone's trying to do their own little thing, and they'll work with half a dozen schools or universities, and they're not really making a big impact on the global stage. So we've gone to them and said, you know what, we need to define the core competencies for each of these skill disciplines, so that people that are coming into the industry have a portal that they can go to and go, you know what, I want to be a texture artist in visual effects. I want to be a gaming art, texture artist in games or whatever it may be, that they can come to this place and go, these are the core skills that I need to have. So that's going to be like a blueprint for schools to be able to go, okay, what should we be teaching now? Because it's going to be open source. So we're collecting all this data. It gets annually updated. It's going to be always relevant. So schools need to become accountable for what they're teaching, because now you've got a place where you can go, hey, look, here's the top 10 things. You're only teaching us 3 things. Where's the other 5 or 8 or whatever it is? You can go back and say, what's going on? I'm paying this sort of money. I want to be making sure that I'm giving myself the best opportunity to be able to get a job. So that's coming early next year, and we're working with some of the biggest studios in the world to create this. So we think it's going to be a real game changer for the industry. Once we've sort of finished with visual effects, then we're moving into games and being able to define those roles as well. And like I said, we're working out what these new hybrid roles are as well. So you can see, hey, I'm going to be a texture artist in visual effects. These are the other types of jobs I can get. And it might be in architecture visualization. It might be in automobile. It could be, there's so many different arms to each of these jobs. It's crazy. So the school rankings, like I mentioned, we're creating healthy competition. Going, hey, you know what, you're saying you're the best, prove it. Each year we're going, here's the list of top 10 schools for visual effects, for games, prove it. Again, making them accountable. The platform networking community, we're trying to just help everybody, by getting industry to help young people get into the industry. And it's not only people that are, we're talking about high school, really junior level as well. There's a real issue with people not learning the right skills from the grassroots. So we're creating packages where we go into schools and go, hey, you've got amazing facilities. How about we help you understand that, having technical as well as the artistic will get you these types of jobs in the future. It's about educating. And the Rookie Awards, which I mentioned before, just creating opportunities through internships, scholarships, and just, global recognition. So I just wanted to quickly have a look at, this is for this year, the top 10 schools. How many people have heard of these schools? I'm curious. A few people? Which ones? Everyone must have heard of Noman. Everyone heard of Noman? But when you look at each one of these schools, they're small. They're really focused on being connected with industry. Noman have a fantastic program where they've always got people coming in. They're always doing workshops with, and each one of these schools has something very similar. So there are schools out there doing a fantastic job, and that's what we're celebrating. There's going to be one in from Serbia here one day, isn't there? This is just a quick look at, the type of work that Nomen are producing, the students. Quite long, so we won't play the whole thing, but you get the idea, right? So I mean, even me as an industry professional looks at some of the student work and I'm like, holy cow, that's amazing, So there are schools doing an amazing job. It's just, you need to do your research about where you're going. It's, a lot of these schools have amazing marketing budgets and they dangle the carrot and all the rest of it, but you need to go in and find out who's teaching, what's their history. You need to find out how many students from previous years have gotten into the industry. And you really need to look at them because a lot of people go off and actually do things at home and to try and improve their skills. But you want to look at the ones that have actually gone through the course and actually got the jobs, right? So there's a lot of research that you need to do before you even sign up for a lot of schools. How can you support your students? The biggest, this is the biggest thing, is industry engagement. It's really trying to connect with the studios that are close to you and being able to, forge better communication and ties with the studios. You need to be understanding what they're doing, what they need, and it's tough. But everyone needs to come together and try and figure this out. Partner with studios to organize internships and apprenticeships. They want to do it. They want to help, but you need to meet in the middle with them. Because everyone's working so hard, you need to find that common ground that people can work together. Train the trainer programs. So upskilling the lecturers, making sure that they actually, go back into the industry, whether it's for a few weeks to lift their skill level, to know what's going on. That needs to be happening all the time, so they stay relevant. Strong art foundations. It's like we talked about yesterday. It's more important to have the art foundation than the technical, So it's crucial because a lot of the jobs that we're fighting for are not going to be here in the future. So having those artistic foundations, they're the one, that's the skill set that's going to give you the job and the eye and the knowledge to be able to learn the tools to be able to then carry on with it. Resources like Access VFX. I don't know if the boys are in the room. But there's online resources where they're offering free mentorship. You can sign up. There's great information. There's a lot of stuff out there just to educate yourself even before you get in and try and get this, help from industry. So you need to step out of your bedroom or your classroom working on your project and actually look what's going on the community on a global stage, because everybody's competing for the same jobs. It's a global market. Then that goes to that last point, which is get students active online. So having a portfolio presence, whether it's through the rookies or whether it's on ArtStation, try and get your work seen by recruiters. We've had people that have entered into the rookies that was their first year, and recruiters have just tracked their yearly progress, and they've seen how they've progressed throughout the years. And they've been, the studios have reached out to these people and offered them jobs. It's about looking at, what the type of work that you're doing for your portfolio as well. We see 4,000 entries this year, and we review every single one. Every single person that enters into the Rookie Awards gets a ranking by industry. We have over 150 industry heavyweights that are reviewing your work. So you might only have one piece, but it could be kick-ass, and somebody from one of the judges might see that, and they'll reach out to us and go, "Who's this guy? We want him in our studio." There's those sorts of opportunities that happen. But it's really being critical with yourself about your portfolio and making sure you're only presenting your best work. We've had so many people that could have got into the finals, but they've added one piece where you're like, really? Did you actually think that was good? Only ever put your best work. You don't want to leave people that are going to be reviewing your work guessing about what you thought was good about that piece. Is it a high 10? Yeah, it's, rendering, we were talking, earlier on, it's about expectation. Hey, there's no point in doing a short film if you haven't got a render farm at your school to do it. Just recognize the expectations. You only have to have 1 or 2 solid pieces and be targeted. If you're going for a lighting position, don't worry about creating the model. Get the model from somebody else, but declare it. You're only going for a lighting job. Or if you're going to be a texture artist, get the model from somewhere. Don't waste your time trying to develop a lot of these skills, particularly if you're going to specialize in a certain discipline. This is, and a lot of this stuff you guys would have probably already heard about, with recruiters and demo reels and making sure your best work's at the front and all the rest of it. So it's, it's a lot of it's common sense, but it's amazing how we see every year people are doing still the same mistakes, and they're the same mistakes that we were making 20 years ago. So I'm going to just pay attention to detail, show people in the industry, not your mum and dad. You want to get critical feedback from people that matter. I'm always accessible on LinkedIn. People can reach out to. I get people sending me stuff all the time going, "Hey, would you mind having a quick look at this?" People that are in the industry, if it's a quick email and just going, "Hey, let's check it," give it a shot. People are open to it. Just to kind of finish off, get out and about, go to networking events. It's fantastic that you're here, and I think, it's great that this event is actually happening and it's bringing everybody together. We were talking about it. We think Serbia has a really strong visual effects, film, gaming community, and it's amazing what's going on here. And really proud to be here and talking in front of everybody and just seeing what's going on. We've been seeing the work coming out of this region for a long time, so it's actually great to be here and see what's going on. So. Look at SIGGRAPH, look at these events that are happening around the world. That one ticket that you can get to go to these things, and you can be like a helper or a ambassador or a volunteer or whatever it is. Go to these places. The people that you meet could be your future bosses. Networking is huge. So I'm going to leave it there because we've got probably 5 minutes of questions. But thank you very much for listening. I hope there was some useful information in that for people here. So if you want to open the floor to questions, whoever's got the mic. And feel free to step in here, Lawrence, and you guys, you can help out.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Very well.
Having a good day?
Awesome day. Good. Well, I actually wanted to ask 2 questions.
Yep.
The first one being, do you know if and when the Think Tank Center in Vancouver is going to reopen start accepting applications for their mentorship program?
Good question. No, I don't.
No, that's
No.
a bummer.
Their mentorship, I think, I mean, they've got their online school now as well
Yeah,
as
they
the
do,
sort of
they do.
the classroom stuff. But I think they have 2 windows. And when is that actually? Because they're going to be offering a scholarship through the rookies for next year. I think it's early next year that they open, like February, March.
Well, I'm going to
But
be there.
I can find out for you. Are you going to be there?
No, I'm going to be on the rookies side,
Oh,
looking
right.
out for it.
Well, what's happening next year is because we used to run scholarships actually through the Rookie Awards, but we're actually pulling them out so that schools can run them as separate contests. So it lines up better with submissions and all that sort of stuff. So I'll let you know exactly when that's going to be.
Thank you. I'll reach out.
I'll give you a business card later and you can send me an
Thanks
email.
so much. Well, the other question was, since you mentioned that modeling as we know it and texturing is becoming obsolete, so what do you expect to see in future portfolios regarding 3D art, 3D character art, or assets?
I mean, I think it's, you know, right now we just have to be mindful of where it's going, right? So I think, you know, we talked about this yesterday, it's trying to get to the top of your game as quickly as possible. Because like we were saying, a lot of these jobs are going overseas. There's, you know, procedural texturing happening. There's a lot of things that are kind of, you know, and you see but there's going to be always need to be senior people that have that artistic background, the visual knowledge to be able to oversee these types of roles, right? So for me, if I was getting into these industries, I'd be just going as hard as I possibly can to learn as much as I can. You know, you've got probably a short window to upskill yourself and get into a really good position.
So you think it still makes sense to focus on character art?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
But you know, just going back to the character art, you know, learning about anatomy and all that, you know, that is the crucial stuff.
Well, you said anatomy. You know, there are a lot of digital sculptors today. Mm-hmm. They're focusing on, you know, certain software that is basically, you know, digital sculpting. What do you think about that? Does it make sense to include that in a portfolio, since that is, you know, anatomy, since that is what, you know, future employers might look at? Do you think that's
it's important. You know, again, it's showcasing that basic fundamentals of understanding anatomy. Like we see a lot of people doing amazing ZBrush art, and they have no concept of anatomy whatsoever, and that will never get them a job. And you know, the thing is, you need to be able to take that asset and bring it into a production environment. You need to be able to retopologize that. It needs to be able to work in a rig and all the rest of it. So showcasing, you know, how anatomy, that you have a good understanding of anatomy is really important.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Hi. Quick question. Do you encourage creating a job for ourselves, like opening a firm, or moving to hotspots around the world to get a job in the industry?
It depends on your character. If you've got an entrepreneurial spirit and you're into business and you know you've got that drive, it's not for everybody. So you need to, you know, you as a person. I think, you know, getting industry experience to start with is important because you can see what works and what's not working within a business before you start your own business. There's a lot of people writing about it and doing amazing blogs about how to start your own business. So there's ways that you can fast track that, but I think it comes back down to you as an individual of like how quickly you want to, you know, because there's, you know, you need to be creating business opportunities. So it's not only technically how to, you know, make it and do it and all the rest of it, but you need to be out there networking and meeting the right people to get these jobs in, right? And there's also, if you've got job history, that gives you credibility to go, okay, well that person's, you know, worked on this film, so they're going fresh is always going to be hard. But if you've got an amazing project that you've done, you know, during your studies, then that's going to be some weight, you know, added to that.
Thank you.
First off, hello.
Hello.
I never heard of rookies before, and I'm really happy I did now because I think I will start submitting my work at the rookies.
Excellent.
But I have to ask a question. I'm the finishing year of high school, and how young is too young to start? Because there is a lot of pressure on students to go big and have a nice brand and have a great branding name at a really young age, because if you don't make it at like 20s or 25, you're never going to make it.
What was the question again?
How young, how young is too young? And is there really that pressure that if you don't make it young, you won't make it at all?
No, not at all. I mean, there's people that change that have gone through, you know, like, I mean, me personally, I used to be a chef. I trained as a chef and I was a chef for 8 years and worked overseas in some of the best restaurants in the world. But I got into it, you know, by that, again, they're artistic. So it was purely about the artwork, right? And it doesn't, age has nothing to do with it. It's as long as you're passionate about it. So I guess, you know, the younger that you start, you know, just understanding concepts and 3D and all the basic sort of stuff, then that's going to put you in the right step for coming into schools, you know, and that's, you know, just being able to work out, is this a good school or not? Because, you know, I know more than the lecturer does, so alarm bells should be ringing, right? I think that, yeah, the earlier you can possibly, and that comes back down to us as an industry trying to get younger people connected with the, you know, learning these tools as well. And there's a lot of free stuff out there. People can learn it themselves. They don't have to pay like large amounts of money.
Yes. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi. Hi. It was beautiful to...
Interesting as it is, we have time for one more question, please.
Okay. Looks very strict.
It was beautiful to hear from you. I know the Rocky site and I have been on it like daily.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Me and my friend, the first one who broke the ice, we were talking about think tank and where to go next, what to do next with our jobs. And it's a beautiful opportunity. I love what you stand for, I love what you do. And my only question is, what was the biggest project that you did that you look back on and saw, wow, it was hard, but I got something out of it?
For me, it was probably, I mean, Schmorg was a challenge because it was just the sheer scale of the, you know, the dragon, and working together, 4 people texturing the same asset, that definitely proved challenging. But for me, I think the most rewarding project was John Carter of Mars. Like at JCOM, it bombed at the box office, but it was a fun project, and it was all, you know, like the characters on it were amazing. And there were times, you know, when, because, you know, you just give them this concept art and they're kind of like, okay, go, right? And it's all purely fictitious, and you're trying to create, you know, these characters, you know, and you're starting from, you know, a blank canvas. So really, it's up to you to create this character, right? So there was moments where I had artistic block with some of those characters. I was just like, I don't know which direction to go with this. I'm at a loss. And that's what I was saying about just making sure that you're always checking in with other people. It doesn't matter who, because if you start going down that slippery slope, you know, you can find that you've worked on an asset for a week and your deadline's getting shorter and shorter. So the quicker that you realize that you're at a mental block and that you go ask for help, and like I said, it doesn't matter what level you're at, it does not matter, but that will just bring you back into focus and just quickly snap you back out of it. But yeah, John Carter was a fun project to work on.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you very much.